Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into something that affects every single one of us. The battle between our heads and our hearts, between logical reasoning and emotional rationalizing. We'll explore how these two forces shape our lives, relationships, and even our perception of reality. And we'll even touch on the fascinating but unsettling psychological biases, like the Mandela Effect. Now, we've all been there, right? That moment when you know something is so true, like in your gut, you just have the feeling, you got the feels. Something deep down is telling you that this is true. But when you try to explain it logically, it doesn't hold up. That's emotional reasoning at play. When our feelings dictate our beliefs, regardless of the facts. Think about it. If I said, I feel anxious about this presentation, so it must be true. Or, those people looked at me funny. They must hate me. Not true, right? These are just ways that our emotions are tricking us into thinking something is true when it's not, or could be, or may. It's probably not. Logical reasoning, on the other hand, relies on evidence, facts, sound principles. It's about stepping back and analyzing the situation objectively and drawing conclusions based on what's really true. But here's the kicker. We as humans are not rational creatures. We're wired with biases, cognitive shortcuts, and emotional triggers that could lead us in the wrong direction. Take the Mandela Effect, for example. It's a phenomenon where a large group of people share a false memory. Like, wait, didn't Nelson Mandela die in prison in the 80s? Or the movie Snow White, is it mirror, mirror on the wall? Or is it magic mirror on the wall? Who is the fairest of them all? Which one do you think it is? This shows how malleable our memories are and shows just how easy they are to be swayed by the crowd, how easily we can be swayed by collective emotions and narratives. It shows how even the most confident people can be wrong. We also need to talk about rationalizing. Rationalizing is when we create seemingly logical explanations for our emotional decisions. Like, I yelled at them because they deserved it. We say that when really we're just the ones who are frustrated and angry. It's a way to soothe our emotional discomfort, but it prevents us from taking responsibility for our own actions. So check yourself. Are you actually uncomfortable about a situation? Is that why you're lashing out? Which brings us to relationships. This is where the battle between logic and emotion come together at full force. It's important to acknowledge that, generally speaking, men and women approach situations differently. Not as a rule, but just for the most part. For example, women tend to be more emotional leaning, prioritizing feelings and intuition. This can be a strength, allowing for deeper empathy and connection. However, it can also lead to misinterpretations, misunderstandings, and a disregard for facts. Men, on the other hand, tend to lean more towards logical reasoning, focused on problem solving and objective analysis. This can be helpful finding practical solutions, but can also lead to more dismissive behaviors or something that could come across as more insensitive. Neither approach is wrong by itself, but understanding these tendencies helps us communicate more effectively. Imagine this. One partner feels unheard and emotionally neglected, while the other partner focuses on providing logical solutions to the problem. And the result is miscommunication and frustration. I'm totally guilty of this, and it took me a while to realize that pure logic could not, for the life of me, come up against an emotional fueled disagreement. So the key here is to find balance, to acknowledge and validate each other's feelings, while also staying grounded in the conversation with logic and reason. So when we can bridge the gap, then we create space for a deeper understanding and deeper connection. So how do we cultivate more logical reasoning and less emotional reactivity in our lives? Here's a few tips. One is practice mindfulness. You've heard me say it before. Mindfulness, just being able to take a moment, pause, observe your thoughts, and observe your feelings without judgment. That can help you detach from emotional reactivity. Challenge your assumptions. Why are you assuming anyway? That old saying, and assuming makes an ass out of you and me. I mean, there's a reason why, right? But challenge what you're assuming to yourself. Ask yourself, what evidence do I have to even support this belief? Is it based on facts? Is it just a feeling? Is it a hunch? Next, seek out people with different perspectives. Talking to people with different viewpoints can help you break out of the echo chamber and see things from a more objective standpoint. Learn about cognitive biases. Understanding how our brains actually trick us is the first step to understanding our brains. Practice empathy. Think about how the other person feels. Try to see things from their viewpoint. Try to see things from another person's perspective, even if you don't agree with them. And journaling. Writing out your feelings can help you process them and look at things more objectively. And finally, meditation. You've heard me say this over and over. Meditation is a great way to create space between your thoughts and yourself, so you can choose which thoughts to listen to. Ultimately, it's about finding balance. Our emotions are very valuable and they provide us with great information, but they shouldn't dictate our every decision. They shouldn't be the driving force for everything that we do. I'm not saying don't go with your gut feelings. Sometimes it's right, but just make sure that it's rational and logical behind that gut feeling. That way you can get the best of both worlds. By cultivating logical reasoning and self-awareness, we can navigate life's challenges with greater clarity, compassion, and wisdom. Well, I hope this video gave you some food for thought, and I hope that it helps you distinguish between the emotions that tug us and the logical reasoning that tugs us, and the different dynamics that we have with each other and as humans altogether. Remember, you have the power to choose how you respond to the world around us. Choose wisely. And as always, please like, subscribe, and keep surfing the waves of life with a Zen mindset.